My name is Anna, and I am 30 years old. I thought I had everything: a loving husband, a peaceful home, and a heart full of dreams. His name is Daniel. We met 6 years ago, and from the very first day, I felt like he was the one. He was kind, soft-spoken, and he made me feel like I mattered. He would hold my hand in public. He would text me sweet messages every morning. He never forgot my birthday, and he always brought me flowers, even when there was no reason. I remember once I had a bad day at work. I came home crying. He did not say much. He just pulled me into a warm hug and whispered, "Everything will be okay." And in that moment, I believed him. I believed his words. I believed his love. We laughed together. We made dinner together. We even planned our future. He would say things like, "When we have kids, I want to be the kind of dad who reads bedtime stories every night." And I would smile, imagining a small house filled with joy and tiny footsteps. Everything felt perfect, but slowly something began to change. At first, I thought I was imagining things. He started coming home late. He said he had extra work. I believed him because I trusted him. Then came the nights when he would sit on the edge of the bed, scrolling on his phone, smiling quietly to himself. When I asked who he was talking to, he would laugh and say, "Just a friend from work." I wanted to believe him, so I did. But my heart started feeling heavy. I would lie awake at night, staring at the ceiling, asking myself, why does something feel different? His hugs became fewer. His words became shorter. The man who once made me feel like a queen now felt like a stranger sitting at my table. There were days when I wanted to scream, "What is happening to us?" But I stayed quiet. I thought maybe it was just a phase. Maybe he was stressed. Maybe I was overthinking. But my soul, it was whispering to me, something is wrong. I started noticing little things. He would always take his phone to the bathroom. He would delete his call history. He would smile at his screen, but not at me. And one night, something broke inside me. He came home late again. I had cooked his favorite dinner, but he barely touched it. I watched him from across the table, and I could not recognize the man I had loved for so many years. When he went to sleep, I sat in the dark living room, and I cried, not loud, just soft tears running down my cheeks, falling into silence. My heart felt like it was carrying 1,000 pounds. I kept asking myself, where did I go wrong? Did I do something? Why do I feel so alone when I am not alone? But the answer was silence. That night, I knew something had changed between us, something deep, something I could no longer ignore. I did not know the truth yet, but I could feel it coming, and I was not ready for it, not at all. I could not sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Daniel's face. Not the face I fell in love with, but the face he wore now. Distant, cold, hiding something. I kept asking myself, why does he not look at me the same way anymore? The next morning, he left early. He said he had a meeting. I stood by the window and watched his car disappear down the street. And then my eyes turned to his phone. He had forgotten it on the table. For a few minutes, I just stared at it. My hands were shaking. My heart was beating fast. A part of me said, "Do not touch it. You should trust him." But another part, the part that had been hurting for months, whispered, "You deserve to know the truth." I picked up the phone. I sat on the edge of the bed, holding it tightly. My fingers were trembling as I opened the screen. There was no password. He always said he had nothing to hide. But what I saw destroyed me. There were messages, dozens of them, from someone named Lena Red Heart. My heart dropped. I opened the chat. The words on the screen, they cut through me like a knife. "Good morning, my love. The kids are asking when you are coming back. I miss you so much last night. We cannot keep hiding this forever." Each message was like fire in my chest. And then I saw the photos. Daniel holding a small child in his arms, smiling, kissing her on the forehead. Another photo, a woman sitting beside him, her head on his shoulder. They looked happy, like a family. My heart broke. I dropped the phone. I covered my face with both hands. I could not breathe. I felt like the walls were closing in on me. My chest hurt. My soul was screaming, Why did you do this to me?" Tears fell from my eyes, soaking my hands, my lap, the bed. I had trusted him with everything. My heart, my love, my future. And he had given it all to someone else. I sat there for hours. I did not move. I just stared at the floor, replaying every moment in my mind. Every "I love you," he said to me, was he lying? Every plan we made, was it all fake? And those kids, they were not just children in a photo. They were his children. I could feel it in the way he held them, in the way he smiled at them, in the way he belonged with them, and not with me. That night, when he came back home, I did not say a word. He smiled at me and asked, "Did you eat something?" I nodded, but inside I was breaking. I looked at him, and I wondered, how can someone look you in the eyes and still lie so perfectly? I went to bed early. I turned away from him, but I could not sleep, not anymore, because now I knew the truth. He was not just my husband. He was someone else's too, and nothing would ever be the same again. The morning after I saw the messages, I felt numb. I did not cry. I did not scream. I just stared at the ceiling, thinking about everything. My heart was silent, but heavy, like it was carrying a mountain of pain. Daniel was making tea in the kitchen, humming softly to himself, like nothing had happened. He looked at me and smiled. "I made your favorite." I wanted to throw the cup at the wall, but instead, I took it in my hands. I sat down at the table across from him and looked into his eyes. I whispered, "Who is Lena?" His smile disappeared. The silence between us was loud. He blinked once, twice, and then looked away. He did not answer. I repeated, louder this time, "Who is Lena, Daniel? And whose children are in your phone?" His hands shook slightly. He opened his mouth to speak, then closed it. Finally, he said, "It is complicated." Complicated? My heart shattered again. I stood up and slammed the cup on the table. "You have a whole family, Daniel. How is that complicated?" Tears filled my eyes, but I did not let them fall. I wanted answers, real ones, not lies. He stood up too, his face pale. "Please, Anna, just sit down. Let me explain." I crossed my arms, holding myself together. "Then explain. Right now." He sighed, and what he told me broke me even more. He had met Lena before me. Years ago, they had fallen in love. They had 2 children together. But things did not work out. He said they took a break, and he thought it was over. Then he met me. He said he truly loved me. But 1 year ago, Lena came back into his life. She was struggling, and their children needed him. And slowly he went back. He started spending more time with them, helping them, visiting them. And then the feelings returned. He said he never meant to hurt me. He said he was confused. Confused? I felt like I was living someone else's nightmare. My heart was burning inside me. "You married me, Daniel?" I whispered. "You promised me a life. You looked into my eyes and said forever." He looked down, ashamed. "I know, and I am sorry. I am so sorry. But sorry could not fix this. Sorry could not take away the months of lies. Sorry could not erase the nights I spent alone, waiting, wondering, worrying." I stood still, staring at him, this man I thought I knew, and then I said something I never thought I would say. "I want you to leave." His eyes widened. "Anna, please." I raised my hand. "No, you made a choice, and now I am making mine." He tried to speak again, but I turned away. I walked into the bedroom, closed the door behind me, and broke down. I fell to the floor. Tears came like a storm, loud, deep, endless. I cried not just for the betrayal, but for the death of the future I had dreamed of, the wedding we had, the home we built, the children we never had. It all felt like dust now. That night, he packed a small bag and left. I did not watch him go. I stayed in my room, curled under the blanket, hugging myself, as if trying to hold the broken pieces of my heart together. And in that darkness, one truth echoed in my mind. He was never truly mine. I woke up the next morning, alone. It was a strange feeling. The silence was louder than any noise. I walked around the empty house. His things were gone. His clothes, his shoes, his presents, everything. But somehow the emptiness felt worse than the pain of his leaving. I tried to focus on the little things, the things that used to make me smile. I made myself a cup of tea, the one Daniel always made for me, but it didn't taste the same anymore. It tasted bitter. It tasted like regret. I sat on the couch and stared at the photos on the wall. Pictures of us at our wedding, our honeymoon, our small moments, happy moments. I could still hear his laughter in my ears, but now it sounded so distant, so fake. I tried to move forward. I tried to forget, but the truth always followed me. It whispered to me when I woke up. It stared at me when I tried to sleep. I could not escape it. I spent days in my room, only leaving to get food or do the things I had to do. I felt like I was drowning in my own sadness. But the hardest part was hearing about him from people. Everywhere I went, I heard his name. Anna, I saw Daniel yesterday. He looked happy with Lena and the kids. It's good that he is back with his family. He deserves it. I wanted to scream. I wanted to tell them that he was never just theirs. He was mine once. But the truth was, he was never fully mine. He belonged to someone else all along. I began to notice how people looked at me, like they knew the truth, like I was the one who had been wrong. But I was not wrong. I had trusted him. I had loved him, and he had betrayed me. One evening, I walked past our old favorite cafe. It was the place where we had our first date. It was the place where we promised each other forever. I stopped outside and stared at the window. I could almost see us sitting there, laughing, holding hands. But now, the cafe was just another reminder of everything I lost. I sat down on the bench nearby, my hands clenched tightly together. I could feel the tears coming again, but I held them back. I would not cry in public, not anymore. I took a deep breath. I was broken, yes, but I was not weak. I would heal. Somehow, I would find the strength to move on, to rebuild my life without him, without his lies, without his promises that meant nothing. The hardest part was not the pain of losing him. It was the betrayal, the feeling that I had wasted so much time, so much of my heart on someone who could not even be honest with me. I stood up from the bench. I wiped my eyes quickly, took one last look at the cafe, and walked away. For the first time in weeks, I felt like I was taking control again. I was walking forward, even if I did not know where I was going. I knew I could not stay stuck in the past. Daniel was gone, but I was still here, and somehow that had to be enough. It's been months since Daniel left, months since the betrayal shattered my world, but somehow I am still standing. At first, it felt impossible. The days were long. The nights were cold. Every part of my life felt broken, like a glass that could never be put back together. I spent so much time asking myself why he did it, why I never saw the signs, why I couldn't see the truth. But over time, the questions started to change. Instead of asking why, I began to ask how. How do I move on? How do I rebuild my life from the pieces? The answer wasn't easy. It didn't come overnight. At first, I cried every day, every night. I missed him. I missed the love I thought we shared. I missed the future I thought we would have. But slowly, the tears started to feel less like a flood and more like a release, like I was letting go of the past, piece by piece. One day, I woke up and looked at myself in the mirror. I didn't recognize the person I saw. My face was tired. My eyes were red. But there was something different about me. There was a new strength in my eyes. A strength I didn't know I had. I started small. I started by leaving the house more. I took long walks in the park. I went to the gym. I spent time with my friends, even when I didn't feel like it. I pushed myself. I needed to find joy again, even if it was just in the little things. And you know what? It worked. It worked because I realized something important, something that I had forgotten in the midst of all the pain. I realized that I had value, that my worth was not defined by Daniel or anyone else. It was something that came from within me. I started to believe that I could build a life without him. I went back to the things I loved. I started reading books again. I began painting again, something I hadn't done since I was a teenager. I even traveled to a place I had always wanted to visit. I was finding pieces of myself that I had lost along the way. The parts of me that had been hidden behind the lies and the pain. And slowly, I started to feel like me again. It was not an easy road. There were days when the sadness would come back, creeping in like an unwanted guest. There were nights when I would lie awake, thinking about what could have been. But those moments became less and less. I knew I had a long way to go, but I had made progress, and that was enough. One evening, as I sat in my apartment looking out the window, I realized something. I had forgiven him, not for him, but for me. I had let go of the anger, the hurt, the feelings of betrayal, and for the first time in a long time, I smiled. I smiled because I knew that I was no longer defined by his actions. I was free. I was in control of my life again. I was stronger than I had ever been before. I had learned to love myself, something I had forgotten for so long. And I was ready for whatever came next, because I knew now that I could face it, all of it, on my own, and no one could take that away from me.